Hello everyone and welcome to our Tilburg University pre-departure event. My name is Anka Costa and I am a part of the international team of Tilburg University. If you are watching this session, it's highly likely that you've been accepted to one of our programs, either bachelor's, master's, or pre-master's program. And what we're going to do today, in the next 1 hour and a half or 2 hours, depending on how busy the event is, we're going to present you the latest updates about coronavirus and also about the implications that the current crisis has on our education. We're also going to give you the latest updates in terms of admission, housing, immigration. So stay tuned because this session is specifically designed to prepare you for the upcoming academic year. Please know that this session is designed for European Union citizens. So if you are a non-EU student, then there might be some information which will not apply to you. We did have 2 non-EU sessions today and 2 days ago. So in case you are a non-European Union, feel free to stick around. I'm sure that there will be lots of pieces of information that will be relevant for you. However, there will be a recording of the non-EU session, which I highly advise you to check. And this session will also be recorded and it will be shared with you I believe next week. Now, there will be a live Q&A throughout the entire session, so please feel free to ask whichever questions you have. If you are asking your questions, do it using the public chat so that other students that might have the same question will see the answer that one of my colleagues has given you. We have colleagues from the immigration team, from the admission team, from student desk. We have current students and some academics as well, which are present in the chat, and they will answer your questions throughout the entire event. We will also have present on stage our colleagues from admission and from immigration, and also a couple of current students. So if you have questions for them, please ask them now at the beginning of the session, so by the time that we start with the admission coordinators, we will already know your curiosities. Please also know that in this particular event, we will mostly tackle general questions. If you do have specific questions and the admission officers or the immigration officers or the housing officer can assist you with it, then they will try to do so. Otherwise, we will follow up with you via email. And whenever you are asking your questions, please mention your name, the program that you've been accepted into, and also your nationality. What we're going to discuss today, we're going to begin with a couple of information of how to stay informed regarding the upcoming events and also the beginning of the academic year. We're going to discuss about admission, registration, enrollment, and finances. We're going to offer you a couple of information about immigration, about housing, about the registration day and introduction week right before the academic experiences start. And also we will offer you a couple of useful dates, deadlines, contact details, and tips. We will share lots of contact information during this presentation. So if we do get to those slides, please make sure to take a picture of the slide or maybe write down the proper email address. All right. We know that it might take a bit longer than usual for you to receive answers to your email. That is because our entire team is very busy with processing the start of the academic year. So the admission officers are processing the application packages. The immigration officers are taking care of the immigration procedures for all non-EU students. And this is why you might have experienced some delays in getting your answer. However, please make sure that, be assured that we will get back to you as soon as possible. However, I just want to let you know that our website is a great tool of information. And if you know where to look, you will most likely find the answer to your questions. So the first web page that I'm going to recommend you is our tilburguniversity.edu/corona, where you will find all the updates related to prospective students. So you will find there updates on education. You will find there a roadmap that you can check in order to see which parts of the campus are open and so on. And then there's also the Tilburg University Guide, which you can download for free from our website. So tilburguniversity.edu/prepare. That is another very good webpage where you will find lots of information about the beginning of the academic year and just useful tips to know. I would recommend you to download the Welcome to Tilburg University guide. You will see that after you read it, more things will be clear. We also have a Facebook group for the upcoming 2020 intake. So in case you're not already in that Facebook group, please let us know in the chat, and one of my colleagues will add you there. This is indeed a peculiar context where we cannot properly welcome you on our campus. So if in the first semester the education will mostly happen online, we want to make sure that you are connected to your community, to the other international students and Dutch students as well. So make use of these online tools. The biggest and most important update that you are curious about based on your questions is the COVID implication on education. At this point, it's starting to become clearer and clearer the way that we are going to offer our education in the upcoming academic year. What we know now and what we can guarantee you is that all of our programs will be able to be followed online in the first semester. Therefore, we encourage you to come on campus if you can. There will also be small size classes and small size academic activities organized during the first semester. So if you can do so, then you are more than welcome to come, and it's recommended. However, if you cannot travel due to COVID-19 restrictions, then you will be able to follow the first semester from the comfort of your own home. There is one difference for the Bachelor's of Data Science students, which is a joint program between Tilburg University and Eindhoven University of Technology. The presence on campus is required. This is a technical program and it does require a physical presence. Therefore, if you don't come to the Netherlands, if you are data science students and you don't come to the Netherlands, you might face some study delay. So please follow the instructions that the program will offer you via email. You are more than welcome to participate in this session. Everything else applies to you, of course. Now, we know that you are curious about when will I find out the schedule of my classes, when will I find out how to register for exams and so on. This will be available after the first half of August, so somewhere in the second week you will receive more information from your school via email. And in terms of how education will look like in the second semester, we are closely following just the regulations and the recommendations of the Dutch government when it comes to social distancing and safety on campus. Therefore, a final decision about the form of education for the second semester of 2020-2021 will be available in October. All right, moving on. I'm going to swiftly present some terms that you might still have questions about. And it's mostly about you being conditionally admitted, unconditionally admitted, or enrolled. What does conditionally admitted mean? Most of you would have received a letter that is a conditional admission letter. And that letter includes a couple of documents that you still need to send in order to be unconditionally admitted. So carefully read the letter. The admission officer mentioned exactly what you have to send us. For example, a legalized copy, a certified copy of your high school diploma, or maybe your English test results, or perhaps your grade list, and so on. So in order to get unconditionally admitted, you need to send us those documents. My colleagues from the admission team will give you a couple more details afterwards about this. So unconditionally admitted means that you met all the conditions that the conditional letter included. You need to register in StudiaLink. This is mandatory in order to get enrolled into any Dutch university, and you can do it so in your StudiaLink account. If you haven't created a StudiaLink account up to this point, please do it as soon as possible. And then enrolled means that you are accepted and a student of Tilburg University. In order to get enrolled at Tilburg University, you need first to get unconditionally admitted. You need to be registered in StudiaLink, the governmental platform for higher education in the Netherlands. And also you need to select the payment of the tuition fee option in StudiaLink, which has to be done by 1st of September. And now I'm going to invite my colleagues from the admissions team on stage. Please ask your questions in the chat. And after probably 15, 20 minutes, while they do their presentations, I will ask some of those questions live. So especially if you have general questions or curiosities about the admission process, feel free to ask them in the chat.
Hi everyone, my name is Sinta and I'm an international admission coordinator.
And my name is Alice, and I'm one of the immigration coordinators of Tilburg University.
On our collage, you can see our entire team, so we'll briefly introduce everyone to you. I'll start with Annas. Annas is the international admission coordinator for the master's program of Tilburg School of Social and Behavioral Sciences.
Next to him is Eric, one of our immigration coordinators.
And next to him is Christa, who is the International Admission Coordinators for the bachelor programs of the School of Social and Behavioral Sciences. And below Christa is Nel, who is the admissions coordinator for the bachelor programs of the Tilburg School of Economics.
And below her you see Katelijn, and she is our immigration officer, and a lot of you EU students have been in contact with her.
Below Katelijn is Femke, who is the admission coordinator of the bachelor programs of Tilburg Law School. Next to her is Malou, who is the admission coordinator for the master programs of Tilburg Law School. Then we have Nico, our newest colleague, and he is an international admission coordinator for the master programs of Tilburg School of Economics. Next to him is Gaby. She's the international admission coordinator for the bachelor programs of Tilburg School of Humanities and Digital Sciences.
And above her you see a picture of Crystal, and she's also an immigration coordinator.
And to wrap it up is Leontine. She is an international admission coordinator for the master programs of Tilburg School of Economics as well.
And last but not least, of course, in the middle, you see a picture of us.
So I'll start with describing the systems that you need to know in order to be enrolled to Tilburg University. I'll start with MySAS, which is the system of Tilburg University for sending in your applications for all programs except for the bachelor program of psychology. As this is a numerous fixers program, it's not taken care of through MySAS. So in MySAS you send in your application and you also upload the documents we need to assess your previous education. So for example, a scan of your most recent transcript. If you've already graduated, then a scan of your diploma. An English language test, a copy of your passport or ID card, and depending on the program you apply for, you might also need to upload a motivation letter or a CV, statistics checklist. So this depends on the program that you apply for. The Dutch National Registration System, StudyLink, and then Osiris, and I'll explain a little bit more about that during the presentation as well. So MySAS, as I said, is used for the online application system. Once your application has been assessed and you're conditionally admitted, we send your application through to our immigration colleagues as well. Through MySAS, they also contact you, and you might need to upload some documents there as well. Then StudyLink, as I said, is the Dutch National Registration System. So this is used for all universities in the Netherlands, not only Tilburg University. You must be registered in StudyLink in order to start your visa process as well. So you do not only need to send in your application via MySAS, but also register in StudyLink. If you want to be enrolled at Tilburg University, you need to register via StudyLink, as you will also pay your tuition fee through StudyLink. So you'll receive a message through StudyLink with regards to your tuition fee, and then you can fill in a payment method. So if you have not registered in StudyLink yet, please do so as soon as possible, as you need to register in StudyLink in order to be enrolled fully to Tilburg University. So use the name as stated in your passport, and use the same email address as you used in MySAS, as this will make sure that the systems connect with each other. So once you've applied, registered in StudyLink, your information will be sent through to Osiris as well. Via Osiris, you will receive information with regards to your Tilburg University account. So please, after you registered in StudyLink, keep that email safe because it contains very important information. Check your spam inbox as well, because it's possible that the email from StudyLink gets sent to the spam inbox. Once you've registered in Osiris, as I said, you'll get a Tilburg University account, and this stays with you throughout your studies at Tilburg University. And you will also use Osiris to register for courses, so it's very helpful. I'll explain a little bit about the tuition fee, but my colleague Alice will explain more about it later in the presentation. So most frequently asked question, I think, is the deadline for the payment method, and you need to fill in your payment method in StudyLink before September 1st. You also need to be registered at 31st of August at the latest, so please make sure to do so as soon as possible. With regards to the tuition fee, you can find the amount of the tuition fee on our website, as well as the message you received through StudyLink. The tuition fee remains the same, even though we offer online education, so the information on our website is still recent. And I'll give the word to my colleague Alice.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the information from the immigration team. And maybe you think, well, I'm from the EU, so I do not need to go through immigration. That's correct, because you can travel with your European ID card or passport to the Netherlands, but we do send you some information via our immigration team. And as you can see here, we contact all international students who are living outside of the Netherlands. So it doesn't matter if you're from the EU or from outside of the EU. And also students who are already living in the Netherlands with a non-Dutch nationality. As you do not need to go through the immigration process with regards to a visa or a residence card, we do give you some information that is very helpful, and we will send you that information in detail somewhere in August, and that will contain information about the registration at Tilburg City Hall. If you're going to study here in Tilburg, either it's for a master or for a bachelor program, you need to register yourself at the City Hall. Normally it would be done at the registration day on campus, but unfortunately due to COVID-19 that is not possible, but the colleagues at Tilburg City Hall are still ready to welcome you in the city center, and we will guide you through that process and provide you with a link how to book an appointment once you have traveled to the Netherlands. The second thing is the health insurance. That is mandatory, so please check your insurance if it covers your stay in the Netherlands. And also a Dutch bank account. That can be very helpful as well. A lot of students from the EU choose not to open a Dutch bank account because they can still use their own, and that's perfectly fine. But we know from information from previous years that some people are from certain countries say, well, it's helpful to do so because the payment from my own country, it doesn't go as smoothly as when I open a Dutch bank account. And therefore, you will receive information about that from us as well. And as was said in the beginning, please stay tuned for the latest developments and travel regulations due to Corona, because a lot of students have questions about that. Even within the EU, there can be travel regulations and also, of course, quarantine measures. And please check what is going on in your own country and what is the latest information in the Netherlands. And you can follow the latest updates on Tilburg University /Corona. A little bit more about the payment of the tuition fee. As you already heard from Cinta, you need to register yourself in StudyLink, the national system, and you can choose from different payment methods. So for instance, you can choose to pay everything in one time or pay in installments, and that will be in 8 installments throughout the year. So that can be helpful because then you can spread it out a little bit. You need to have a SEPA account from a SEPA country. And if you do have any specific questions about what you should fill in, please contact the student desk and they can guide you through it and help you further with regards to the payment methods in StudyLink. A little bit more about insurance. As I already mentioned before, check that you are insured, not only for medical insurance, but also travel and third-party liability. That is a legal requirement in the Netherlands. and it can be very expensive if something happens and you do not have an insurance that covers that. And my advice would be to check your own policy and to see if it's valid in the Netherlands, and if not, please check our website, because we have some general recommendations regarding an insurance that you can get here in the Netherlands. So that's a little bit about the immigration team. And as I said before, you will receive an additional email with regards to registering at City Hall and about the Dutch bank account opening and stuff like that in August. And as you can see, there are a lot of email addresses on this page. We will leave it for a little bit. If you have any questions regarding the registration or at City Hall, or maybe travel regulations or whatever, or you have doubts what you should do, please contact us via immigration@tilburguniversity.edu, and we will help you and inform you if you are in doubt, if you can or have to travel or will travel to the Netherlands. And to the right, you see all the admission email addresses, because they are per program, bachelor or master, and per school. So you know what program you have applied for. So please contact the correct admission colleague if you have any questions regarding your admission or your diploma or whatever. And they are very busy, as we are as well, and we try to answer all questions as soon as possible. For immigration right now, we try to answer everything within a week. So if you have sent out a message like 2 days ago, please know that it is in our inbox, and we will answer you next week, because it's a busy time as the new year almost starts. And I'm sure it's the same for admission. So you need to be patient a little bit. And yeah, please, I'm curious if there are any questions for us.
There are, absolutely. I already see some in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
Maybe I can begin with explaining the terminology for the email addresses, guys. So if you got accepted into Tilburg University, you already received an email from your admission officer, so you should know the email address that you can send us an email. But just to remind you, so Bachelor Tyson means a bachelor from our Tilburg School of Economics and Management. Therefore, if you're studying International Business Administration or Entrepreneurship and Business Innovation or Econometrics and Operations Research or Economics, then that's your bachelor's. And the same goes for our masters. So if you're studying marketing management or any other Tyson master, then your email address is the second one. TLS means Tilburg Law School. So if you're studying global law, then you have the address for the bachelor's admission officer, and the same goes for the masters. TSB means our Tilburg School of Social and Behavioral Sciences. So if you're studying psychology, international sociology, global management of social issues, or human resource studies, people management, or any of the master's economic psychology, for example, then you have the addresses there. And TSHD is our Tilburg Schools of Humanities and Digital Sciences. So if you're studying the Bachelor's of Online Culture, Art, Media and Society, or the Cognitive Science and Artificial Intelligence program, then you have your address there. The same applies for the masters. And TST is our Tilburg School of Theology. So if you are studying the bachelor's or the master's in theology, then you have your email address there. All right, and now we can begin with the questions that the student asked us. And I'm going to start with Alice with an immigration question. So we received this question lots of time today, and I think that maybe it's good to remind students of the rules. One of the students is asking, do we need to go into quarantine when arriving in the Netherlands? If so, for how long? And is it sufficient to go into quarantine into my student housing?
Well, yes, it is highly recommended when you travel to the Netherlands, especially from an orange or a red-colored country with high risk. So please check if the country that you're from is any of those colors. But also, to just be sure, we would recommend you to go into quarantine for 14 days. And we have more information on our website with regards to those issues. And please try to do it in your own room, of course. And if you think, well, I cannot do that in my own room, we have some information where you can go to if you cannot go into quarantine in your own room. So you can, for instance, go to a hotel, or because they can have they can help you with that. But the main thing is that we highly recommend you to do so in order to stay safe.
Right. So, guys, just to be sure that we're giving you clear information, as my colleague said, this is highly recommended, but this is not a decision that Tilburg University makes. This is a governmental recommendation, and therefore, as my colleague Alice said, always keep an eye on the webpage to see the latest updates when it comes to these details. We are trying to keep the page updated so that you get the latest information directly, just with a couple of clicks, and you can also check the Dutch government website. Maybe one of my colleagues can share it there. They also have English information, and then you will see there which people coming from which countries are recommended to self-quarantine for 14 days. So yeah, keep yourself informed by always checking the website. And then another question for immigration. Somebody is asking in terms of insurance, whether the European health card is sufficient in order to be insured in the Netherlands, or do they need to get a private insurance?
I don't know by heart, because we do not apply for insurances ourselves. We only give out general information. Of course, we can try and check any information with regards to that European health insurance card. If it is sufficient, so if you want to know, you can always send an email to the immigration team, and we can see if we can help you further, or refer you to the right website where you can find everything with regards to that. But what you can always do is to check with your own insurance company if it is sufficient, and tell them about your situation, that you are planning to start studying in Tilburg in the Netherlands, and whether this is sufficient, the insurance that you currently have, because they should give you the information that you need, because they know everything with regards to that insurance.
Right. So the first step, guys, would be to contact your insurer. So if you have a private insurer, you need to make sure that you are covered in the Netherlands. Please be reminded that having a medical insurance in the Netherlands is mandatory. And if you do need medical help and you do not have an insurance, then the costs for medical services are quite high. So to begin with, if you do have a private insurer, check with them whether you are covered in the Netherlands. And if you are a European Union citizen, which I think most of you are in this session, and you want to get the European health card, then you have to check with them as well whether you are insured in Netherlands, and then you can always send us an email, and one of my colleagues from the immigration team will get back to you. Now, I'm going to go to Shinta for our admission questions. One of the students is asking, so when do you know that you are enrolled in the university? If you receive the unconditional letter, what are the next steps usually?
So once you've been unconditionally admitted by us, that's after we receive the documents and you receive the letter via email. You need to be registered in StudyLink as well. And once our student administration processes your unconditional admission, which might take a little bit longer due to the situation, as we're not all on campus, so the process for sharing information has changed, so it takes a little while longer, so please be patient. Once our student administration updates your StudyLink profile as that you're unconditionally admitted, you also need to fill in the payment details or make the payment, and then once everything is all processed, you'll be enrolled as well. So after you've been unconditionally admitted, you need to fill in the payment method and wait for our student administration to process everything, and then you'll be enrolled.
Thank you for the clear answer. Guys, I hope that this is clear for you also. Again, this session will be recorded and we will share it with you next week. So in case you want to revisit some of the information that our colleagues are offering us now, then you can always do so. Now, another question for the admissions team. One of our students is asking us, do we receive a confirmation when the university received our certified copies? Which is a very popular question, and also in what way? And second question, building up on that, is it possible to send these documents via email and not physically?
Okay, so I'll start with the second question. We ask for certified hard copies, so we would like to receive them via mail, not via email. However, if due to the situation your university or your high school is closed and you're not able to receive these hard copies yourself, send your admission coordinator an email and ask them if you can provide us with copies at a later stage, or maybe if your university or high school can send the documents to us digitally directly. But please check with your international admission coordinator to see what's possible. And if you are able to send us your certified hard copies, then we will send you an email once we have processed them. So either you'll receive an email with the question that we need additional documents or stating that you might have sent us the wrong document, or we will send you your unconditional admission statement via email. However, it's always via email. So
Okay, so you will be informed via email when the admission office will process your documents and receive your documents. Now, another question: what advice can you give to students who are not in the position to send the requested documents on time?
Yeah, as I said, send an email to your international admission coordinator. We're flexible with the deadline this year, as we understand that it's hard to send us your documents before the 1st of August. So send your international admission coordinator an email and then check with them what's possible in your situation. We will try to help everybody as best as we can, but always check with your admission coordinator.
Thank you. So keeping the admission officer informed is very important, guys. If you think that your documents will not reach the university by August 1st, then email your admission officer so that he or she knows where you stand in that regard. Right. I'm going to go back to immigration and then I'll be back to admissions again. All right, so we have some questions about tuition fee. One of the students is asking, what is the tuition fee payment deadline? And maybe we can tell them when the payment deadline is and also that they have to register in Studielec.
I will explain it a little bit more again. As we said in the presentation, the deadline to fill in your payment details will be September 1st. And the actual paying of the tuition fee, if you want to pay in one time, it will be the 25th of September. And if you say, well, I want to pay in installments, the first installment will be also the 25th of September, and then the 25th of October and November. It's not in December because of all the festivities, so there's no payment in that month. And then again, January until May, and May will be the last installment that you need to pay your tuition fee. Okay. So hopefully that will answer the question.
Thank you. That is clear indeed. Guys, I hope it's clear for you. Also, if you have questions, of course, that you can ask them again and we'll get back to you maybe in writing. So we're not going to approach this question again. And then we get another question from a European Union student who is asking, is it correct that the tuition fee is only half in the first year for your studies, for bachelor programs?
That's a good question. I know that it's the case for Dutch students, but I'm not quite sure if it's the case also for European Union students.
You need to. This needs to be your first study in the Netherlands as a bachelor student. So you can check, I think, the website from Duo, which states all the conditions that you need to meet in order to be eligible to have tuition fee in the first year of your bachelor's program.
Right, so the website that my colleague is referring to is duo.nl. So if you enter that website, you will find English information as well. There are a couple of conditions that you need to meet. First, you need to have a European Union nationality or citizenship. And then, yes, this needs to be your first bachelor's that you study in the Netherlands. And this only applies to European Union citizens. But as recommended, please visit the duo.nl website and you will find their official information from the Dutch government. Now, also related to admission, one of our students is asking us, how can students register in Osiris?
So you don't need to register in Osiris yourself. as you register in StudyLink, your information will be linked through to Osiris, and you will receive an email with your Tilburg University account details. So you don't have to register in Osiris itself, but once you register in StudyLink, it will automatically create an account for you in Osiris.
Okay. And about the verification of nationality, one of our students is asking, is it sufficient to upload a copy of ID card passport in MySAS, or should I send a copy of my ID via courier or post as well?
No, you only need to upload it via MySAS, except for when you're a bachelor psychology student, then it all goes through StudyLink and Osiris. But for the verification of your ID, the scan in MySAS is sufficient.
There you go. That answers their question. I see that there are not many general questions left, so we are quickly going to wrap the admission and immigration part of this presentation. I do have one more question for you, Sinta. Somebody is asking, when do students normally receive the unconditional admission letter?
Yeah, well, this year is quite hard for us. As I said, there are only a few employees allowed on campus. So there are 1 or 2 colleagues who process all the documents that come in. So just to give like a little timeline, once we receive the documents, they need to be scanned in. They then need to be distributed to the accordingly international admission coordinator. They need to check if the documents that we have received meet all the conditions that were mentioned to you. So if we received your diploma, your transcript, your English language test, and once that has all been done, we'll admit you unconditionally. Please be patient in this process. As I said, there are only a few employees allowed on campus, so it just takes a little while longer. So don't panic if you've sent your documents last week and we have not sent you an email yet. It can really take like 2 weeks before we are able to process everything and before we're able to send you an unconditional admission statement. So ask for your patience and understanding that it just takes a little while longer this year.
Thank you. And maybe if you have any final tips or pieces of advice for students, or if you want to share anything else in terms of admission and immigration.
Yeah, if you have questions, just send your admission coordinator an email. And yeah, we ask you to be patient. And for the rest, once you've been admitted, enjoy the ride, I guess.
Yeah.
I would say the same. Well, enjoy your time here in Tilburg, and of course, we hope to see lots of you in the next couple of weeks or months. And again, if you have any doubts or you have any questions regarding to the travel regulations or quarantine or whatever, please send a message to immigration@tilburguniversity.edu, and we try to help you and guide you through this uncertain times, and we try to keep up to date, and it can change from day to day. But yeah, please remember, stay safe and enjoy your time here in Tilburg University.
Thank you, Shinta and Ellis, for the useful information and explanation. We're going to move on to the housing part of the presentation, but before we start with that, I'm going to answer a couple of the general questions that were posted in the chat. And also, you should know that if there hasn't already, then there will be posted a poll which we ask you if you already found accommodation, if you're planning to come to Tilburg now in September 2020. So please make sure to fill in your answer so that we have an idea and that the housing officer has an idea on how the situation stays at this point. I see here a question about is it possible that education in the whole academic year will be offered online? This is not something that we have a clear answer for up to this point. This decision will be based on the development of the current crisis and also on the recommendations of the Dutch government. Whether it is a possibility, it is. Everything is possible nowadays. However, we do not know whether this is going to be the case. So please do not make any scenarios until you hear a clear answer from Tilburg University on how education will look like in September, in the next spring semester. Please do not make any decisions in that regard. We will let you know in October how everything will look like in the spring semester. And I see another question here about the data science students and what is the difference between what I talked about and data science students. So data science Science is a joint program between Tilburg University and Eindhoven University and Technology, and the presence of students here in the Netherlands on campus is required. And those students who cannot make it to the Netherlands in order to study their Bachelor's of Data Science, they might face some study delays. You've already been informed via email about this, and if you have additional questions about how education will look like for data science students, please feel free to contact your contact person via email. Another question is, are exams also be given online, or should I travel to Tilburg? In the first semester, for all of our programs, with the exception of data science, all of our exams will be able to pass online. And then when do we know if the first semester will be face-to-face or online? I think it's actually the second semester, and I'm going to repeat the answer. That is October 2020. And now we can start with our housing officer. Hello, Marloes. Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marloes Swinkels, and I am the housing officer of the International Office of Tilburg University. I am here to give you an update and some information about housing in Tilburg. As Anna already told you in the chat, there is a poll where we ask you to fill in if you are still looking for accommodation, if you're already settled for August, or well, if you are not planning to come to Tilburg in August. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. First, I will give you some general information about housing in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, it's very common for students to live in student houses, which means that you have your own private room, but you share the facilities as bathroom or kitchen with other, maybe international, maybe Dutch students. It's very important to know that all the universities in the Netherlands do not offer accommodation on campus. So on campus, we don't have any rooms available for you, which means you are the one responsible to find and reserve your accommodation. Within the city of Tilburg, it's very easy to travel around, since you're gonna have to have your own bikes. This is the way all the students go around the city here. So all the options that I am going to give you now are options, accommodation within the center of Tilburg, so very close to the university and easy to go around. So, as I say, the university doesn't offer student housing, but we do have a housing office, which I'm a part of, and we are here for all students with questions regarding housing. We have some preferred suppliers, which offers student accommodation in Tilburg for the first year international bachelor master degree students. They offer a contract for 6 months or 1 year, so you're gonna have a place to stay for your beginning in Tilburg. If you're gonna do a bachelor program, which takes more years, you're able to find another apartment or a student house after this first year. I'm going to talk to you now about the different preferred suppliers that we have, so the different options that you have when it comes to housing. The first is, here is a list. Actually, that makes it more easy. So there is Wonen Breeburg, which is the student housing. Normally, they are reserved for the exchange students that come to Tilburg University. Only, unfortunately, this year we are not welcoming as many exchange students as normal, and that's why the rooms are also available for degree students this year. Location is perfect, just a couple minutes from the university, and the price is about between 300 and 500 euros per month. They're all furnished. All the options that I give you here are furnished studios and apartments. So it's perfect to start your studies in Tilburg. So next is Student Housing Holland. This is a company which offers a package deal. So they're here to welcome you when you arrive in Tilburg. They give you a sports card. They have different events. etc. The third is Kobo Campus. Unfortunately, all these rooms are full. The next is Talent Square. I guess this is the most popular accommodation for the international students. On the slide, you see there is no more availability there. Well, lucky you, because there have been some cancellations. So there are some rooms available there again. And the last two options is the Rumor and Midi Tilburg. These partners offer studios. So if you are not if you're not into the student life where you share your bathroom and your kitchen with other students, this might be an option for you. Here is a little bit more information about your room in Tilburg. So the rooms at Wonen Breburg. All the other accommodation you can just book through the website. This works a little bit differently. That's why I'm going to explain a little bit more detailed. Your room in Tilburg offers 3 types of rooms. In the Verbenenlaan, they have a contract for 6 months. You will share your kitchen and your bathroom with other international students, which is lots of fun. And you will still have enough privacy in your own bedroom if you want to have some quiet time or you want to study, which of course you're going to have to do when you come here. If you're interested in one of these rooms, I would recommend you to send an email to me at studenthousing@tilburguniversity.edu. Send me all of your information, which you can see on the slide, and then I will make sure to send you an invitation for the reservation platform to reserve your own room there. Let's see. These are the studios. So as I say, just go to the website and there you can find all the information that you need. Beside all of these preferred partners, of course, there is the private market. Since you're the one responsible for your accommodation, you're free, of course, to choose wherever you want to live. So you can look online. There are a lot of websites and companies that offer accommodation in Tilburg. If you have any question regarding maybe an advertisement that you saw on Facebook, you're not really sure if you can trust the situation, you can always contact me and I can see if there's anything I can check or if it's all safe. So that's very important when you're in the private market. Maybe this is the moment where we can check what the results of the poll.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
So the question was, I will arrive in Tilburg in August and am I still looking for accommodation? 26% of our students that replied are still looking for a room. 46% already found a room. And then 27% said that they will not travel to Tilburg in September.
Okay, well, very good. Almost half of you already reserved their accommodations. So very good. It's an important step preparing to your arrival here. For the 26% of you who are still looking for accommodation, please check the website of Tilburg University. And you can see all the options that I just gave you. And of course, online you can find a lot more information. So everything will be clear. The next slide could be interesting for the group who is not traveling to Tilburg in August, but might be coming to Tilburg next semester or next year, who knows. In Tilburg, there's a housing corporation, and they're using a registration time-based platform. And the platform is called Klik voor Kamers. And I would recommend all of you, whether you're coming to Tilburg in August or maybe in a couple of months, register on this website for free. You sign up, and then from that moment, you start to save registration time. So for the students who have reserved a room, for example, at Talent Square, they have a contract there for 1 year. If you want to stay for a longer period in Tilburg, after this year, you're going to have 12 months registration time, which is very good. And you can apply for any studio or room on Klik voor Kamers easily. So all of you, I would say, just register. who knows if you're gonna have to be able to use it in the future, but it can give you a big advantage in a while. Okay, this is the last slide already. So just some general information about the housing office, my phone number, my email address. Please remember, if you have any question regarding housing, if you have problems with your landlord when you're here, if you want to change accommodation, if you have questions. Sometimes landlords, they give you a contract in Dutch, which I can imagine you do not totally understand. Come to me and I will be happy to assist you whenever I can.
Thank you for all the useful information. We have a couple of questions about housing that I'm going to approach with my colleague Marloes here. But before that, please be reminded that this session is recorded and is going to be shared with you next week. My colleagues are telling me that the chat is very busy at the moment. Please know that they are doing the best to answer all of your questions. If there are any questions that they cannot answer, then we can follow up with you via email. So we're going to keep sharing the email addresses that you can send us an email to. And please do not repeat your question in the chat. If you did ask it, then one of our colleagues saw it, so they will approach it there. I think that was it from my side, and now I'm going to follow up with Marloes. Marloes, one of our questions is asking, in all fairness, can the university help with visiting a house now that I'm trying to rent, considering I am not in the Netherlands currently?
Yeah, of course, many of you are not living around the corner, so I can imagine it's very hard for you to come to Tilburg to go to a viewing, which is something very common in the Netherlands. I would recommend you to make a phone call to your landlord or ask them if an online viewing would be possible. This is a very good sign to see if the room is actually there or that you're dealing with a scam. Unfortunately, online there are still people who trying to take advantage. Most of the time, if it's a scam, they would say, no, I'm not able to show you the room online because there is no room. So this, I would always ask for it. And if they say no, then you should maybe think about it twice before transferring any deposits or any rent. In that case, you can always contact me, give me all the information that you have about the room, the website that you found it, information about the landlord, and I can see if I can contact them.
Right. So, guys, us as a university, we cannot control private landlords of houses or apartments. Our colleagues will do their best to check, or at least to see if a certain situation is going towards being a scam. So be careful. Don't transfer any money in advance in case you have any suspicions. And as my colleague said, if you do suspect that there's something wrong with the housing process, when you're trying to get a room, then you can email our housing officer, and she is going to look into it. However, again, we cannot control private parties as a university. Okay, one more question from a student. He said, or she says, he or she, as I'm in Tilburg for one more day, is it possible to also have a viewing for Wonen-Breburg? I'm not Dutch, so that's a bit difficult for me. Or student housing?
Well, you're going to have to make an appointment with these agencies. I would say first try to check the website, because there are a lot of pictures and there's lots of information online. These platforms are based on internet for international students. So all the information that you need should be there. I am afraid they're not going to allow you to visit the room. First of all, because at the moment there's still other students living there. And second of all, I don't think they will be able to have 158 viewings. So, but definitely when you're around, I say you can always try. So contact Wonen-Breburg with your question and see what they say.
Thank you. I hope it's clear, guys, for you. We have another question specifically for you, for one of our students. She or he is saying, I have a room reserved from the 30th of August onwards, but I'm arriving in Tilburg on the 20th of August. So I was wondering, what is the Airbnb situation? Can I rent a room for just 10 days through the app? Or maybe if Airbnb doesn't work, maybe you can offer them a couple of information about short stay recommendations. Is there a website that they can check where they can live for less than a month?
Yeah, definitely. There are, of course, there's Airbnb, there are different hotels in Tilburg. There is a hostel in Tilburg as well, where Tilburg University, well, we work together with them. So I would say, if you need accommodation for a week or 2 weeks, you might, I would say, contact me by email. Explain me your situation, and I will see if I can make an arrangement for you at, for example, the hostel or any other hotel.
Okay, thank you. One more question. Does the university assist students who are looking for housing in the second semester, and will there be more accommodation options for those students who start in February?
Yeah, there are, well, the companies that we work with, their contract either start in August or in January. So we will contact all the students that are going to start in, in the spring semester. You'll receive an email from the housing office around October with information about reserved accommodation, private market, etc. And if you already know you're coming in January, I would say definitely register at the Click for Kamers website that I talked to you about before. And keep an eye on the accommodation website for updates and information about housing.
Thank you. I have one more question from a student. However, I'm not sure if you can answer it, but we'll give it a try. So he or she is saying that I've started searching, but what happens if I reserve a room and then decide around 15th of September that I won't need it? Will I get my money back? I think for half of it, I can answer and say that if this is a private landlord, we don't know exactly how things are working. So you have to decide that when you rent the room. So check the agreement and propose an adjustment if that's needed. I'm not sure how it goes for reserved accommodation.
Yeah, well, this is actually it's a very good question. Probably a lot of students are dealing with uncertainties. Nobody's 100% sure of anything at the moment. So I would recommend all of you to take a look before you sign any contract. Take a look at the cancellation policy. Take a look at what the landlords say about if you're able to cancel either before you arrive or after, because all of the landlords, they have different policies. So even for the reserved accommodation, it's a very hard question for me to answer because there are external companies, so I do not have any influence on their policies, on how they do it. I am able, of course, to contact them, to inform them to inform the students about their policies. But it definitely depends on where you have your contract too. So for everybody, make sure that you fully understand what is in your contract and what it says about cancellation at this time.
Thank you, Marloes. One last question for you, and then we're going to slowly wrap up the housing part and move on with our presentation. So Yannick is asking whether Pararius and Funda are reliable sources, because that's where he found most of the options in terms of housing. So what is your take, Marloes, when it comes to these online platforms, such as Funda or Pararius?
Yeah, well. For me personally, I am more familiar with Funda for when you buy a house. Mm-hmm. Of course, they also have rooms available for rent. And what is very hard with these platforms, for example, there's Kamernet also. The platforms by themselves are good. They are good companies. They are helping all of their clients. But most of those websites, everybody can post an advertisement on these websites. So I can tell you something about the company, but I cannot guarantee that everybody that posts an advertisement on one of these websites is reliable. So this really depends on per case. It's a very hard question to answer.
So you have to check it yourself, and again, if you have suspicions, then you can email our housing officer about it. One last question, actually. I know that I said that last time, but this is quite of a popular topic. Somebody is saying that on Click cameras there are some housing that don't mention the availability date. It says per direct. So what does that mean? Because I think that for a non-Dutch speaker, it might be tricky.
Oh yeah, well that's a Dutch term. Per direct is how you say it in Dutch. It's the room is available right away, so you can move in today or tomorrow. That's it.
There you go. So there is no, if you find it that it's available starting 1st of September, then you know that the room becomes available on 1st of September. If it says per direct, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Very good.
There you go. Then the room is available directly. So it doesn't have a term. I think that we wrapped up most of the questions about housing. Thank you so much, Marloes, for your contribution. She's going to keep asking questions in the chat in case you want to in case you have more questions about housing. Again, guys, please do not post your questions 2 times so that we can keep the chat under control. We do appreciate and we are excited to see that you are being so active. And I guarantee you that my colleagues are really doing all their best to answer a lot of your questions. Thank you, Marloes.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
The registration date usually, it's one day where our students arrive on campus and we organize all sorts of welcoming activities for them. They can buy a bike directly when they get here. We help them with their luggages. We help them opening a bank account because we have banking representatives here on campus. We help them with the registration and so on and so forth. However, unfortunately, this year is not possible, but we will not leave you alone. We will create a virtual event, a virtual alternative for the registration day, which will happen on Friday, August 21st. This is not a mandatory event, however, it is highly recommended to attend it because you will receive lots of useful information that will help you prepare for the new academic year. We also have a program introduction day for every program, and this is mandatory to attend. The program introduction days will take place in the week of August 24th to August 27th. Regardless of the program that you are studying, you will have this program introduction day, which again is mandatory. In case you cannot make this program introduction day, you need to message the school as soon as possible so that they will look into alternative. During this program introduction day, you will learn how to navigate, for example, the student platform, online platform, how to register for exams, how to check your schedule and so on. So it's really lots of technical details that will be very useful for you in this learning online environment. So please make sure that you clear your agenda for that particular day. And then the top week, which is the week of fun and partying and getting to know each other before the serious academic business starts. This also takes place in the week between August 24th and August 27th. This year it's going to be a virtual event, and there's an app coming as well where you will see the type of activities that will follow. In a regular COVID-19 free situation, during this week there are lots of activities organized for students and parties, and you get to have mentors and to know the city, and there are beer canvases and so on and so forth. But our events team is doing their best to wrap up this virtual event. So I'm a former international student myself, originally from Romania. I graduated my master's degree here at Tilburg University. And when I moved to Tilburg, I had nobody here, not one single person that I knew. However, the way that I managed to get along and get comfortable was by knowing people. So even though maybe lots of you will come on campus, but for those of you, especially for those of you who will start your education online from your own home, make sure that you attend these online events, guys. Top week, I think it costs less than 10 euros. It's 95 euros, if I'm not mistaken. But that will give you the opportunity to get to know your future colleagues, to get to know current Tilburg University students. So you're not alone in this situation. We are doing our best to create this community feeling, and slowly things will get back to normal. All right, the registration deadline for Top Week is 14th of August, and if you want to see what this Top Week and Introduction Week is about, you can visit our website, topweek.nl. There's an English version as well, and that's where you'll get more information about it. What else will happen during the top week? You will get introduced to the Big Four, the Big Four being 4 large student associations that you can be a part of, even now in this online learning environment. It is advisable to join a student association, especially if you want to get to know more people and if you have the same interests with them. So it will help you both professionally, but also personally. And that's the week where you will be able to meet these associations and see if you can fit with any of them. And then you will also have the family. We call them buddies, and these are a couple of students that will mentor you throughout the beginning of your student experience here at Tilburg University. Okay, a couple of important dates and deadline, which most of them I've already mentioned during the session, but let us remind you one more time about them. So, conditionally admitted, that means that you have a deadline to submit the documents that are mentioned in your conditional letter, such as a certified copy of your diploma. And maybe, I'm not sure if this question popped up in the chat, what does a certified copy mean? That means that is a faithful copy of a document. So that can be obtained either at a notary, for example, or a lawyer, if they have the right to sign that. Most notaries, according to the information that we have up to this point, do work from home. So in case you do need to send that certified copy of your diploma, please see if you can find a notary that will be doing this from their home for you. And then the registration deadline for Top Week is August 14. So again, highly advisable to attend it, especially for social purposes. The registration day happens on August 21st. Not mandatory, but again, highly advisable to attend. Top Week will take place in the week of 24th to 28th, and afterwards, the classes will start on August 31st, the start of the academic year. And the language courses, we do get lots of questions about the language courses. Maybe my colleagues that are managing the chat can post a link in the group where you'll find more information about it. All Tilburg University students, so bachelor's, pre-master's, or master's students, receive 2 free language vouchers from the university. You can either learn Dutch for free, or you can learn Mandarin or Spanish. Know that usually the first semesters are very busy when it comes to students that want to learn a different language. So in case you don't find a spot, or if you don't want to use your language voucher in the first semester, then you can very well do it in the second semester. Or if you are a bachelor's student, you can do it in the second or the third year. The timetable courses, again, I'm not sure if this question popped up, but it's usually quite a popular one. So when will you find out your timetable and your schedule? That's going to be available mid-August, and you will receive more information from us via email. And then if you do attend the program introduction day, which is mandatory, then you will find more information about it then, and also you will learn how to register for exams and so on. The student desk, this is a student desk for our current students where you can pick up your diploma, for example, or pick up your student card. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19 restrictions, the student desk is physically closed, but you can still contact them using the contact form, and more information about it can be found on our website. About the study materials that are needed, in case you have any curiosities, for example, of the type of laptop that you need or the type of materials that you need before you start your studies, then visit our Quick Start webpage where you'll find useful information about it. Again, the COVID-19 webpage, tilburguniversity.edu/corona, has the latest updates when it comes to the implication on education. And about the Tilburg University student card, you will be able to pick it up from the university. So whenever you decide, and you can come to Tilburg, if you apply with 2 weeks in advance, then you are going to be able to pick it up from the campus. And useful contact details, you can find them here again. So a list of the contact details of all of our admission officers can be found if you access the first web page. This is the immigration email address, the housing officer email address, and the information that you will find about the student desk. The student desk web page also includes lots of frequently asked questions. So again, the website is a useful tool of information, so make sure to use it because it might be faster to get your answers from there. And this is a list of our social media accounts. Right, and we finally got to the fun part of the presentation, which is our conversation with the students. I'm going to invite Farika and Kilian on stage.
I'm Farika Merrick. I am actually a master's student. I'm doing 2 master degrees. I'm doing data science and society and strategic management. But I also gained my bachelor degree from Tilburg University in international business administration. I'm actually from the Dutch Caribbean, St. Martin to be more exact. I guess I'll just briefly talk about like my experience coming to.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would say I'll just give a brief story and make a general story about it. For me, it was more a process where I had to be exact and know precisely, okay, this is what I want to study or this is where I want to go, because it wasn't something that I can just, like last minute change my mind, because not only financially it's an investment, but it's also geographically a massive distance between where I'm from and the Netherlands. So I guess the whole process, really, I had to be very accurate, ensure I had all the needed documents on time and whatnot. So that's really, I guess, a very quick summary of me coming to the Netherlands in that sense.
Hello, I'm Kilian. I'm from Germany and I'm now a third-year bachelor student of human resource studies, so social sciences and management studies combined into one. My process of getting here was a little bit simpler than Farika's process because, like I said, I'm from Germany, so it was overall a little bit easier getting here because spatially it's not that far apart and I can actually get home in about 4 hours by car. So for me, it was basically that after I finished my high school diploma, I didn't really know what to do, so I took a gap year. And after that gap year, I realized that what I'm most interested in is probably human resources or psychology, something in that direction approximately. So then I decided to visit a study fair in Germany, where I actually met someone from Tilburg University that then convinced me to apply here. So I applied both for a psychology bachelor and the human resource studies program. And in the end, I was accepted for both and then, of course, opted for my preferred choice of human resources. And actually back then, it was about April when I was accepted, I already started looking for a place. And back then, because I'm from Germany, I was able to simply drive over here, check out the place that I was looking at online already, and move in quite quickly as well in the beginning of August, because my landlord was super nice and he was just saying like, yeah, sure. I mean, it's only June now, but if you want to move in August, it's fine for me. So that made my process maybe a little bit easier. And I think that's everything about how I got here.
Thank you for the introduction. And now we're going to swiftly move to our students, which are joining us from abroad, Massimiliano and Ana Maria. Ana Maria, I'm going to start with you. If you want to turn on your microphone, please, and introduce yourself and maybe share a couple of details about how you began your experience at Tilburg University. So they've all been in your shoes. I've been in your shoes as well. We are all international students starting here at Tilburg University. So I think that the insight that the students can give you will be useful.
Yeah, sure. So hello, everyone. My name is Anna. I'm currently calling from Bucharest, Romania. I'm also currently finishing my master in finance, and last summer I obtained a bachelor in economics. So my story is pretty straightforward. I already decided quite a while back that I wanted to study economics because it was something that I was really passionate about. I also decided around the beginning of 12th grade that I wanted to come to the Netherlands. So combining them together and looking at the rankings led me to Tilburg University. Of course, I attended quite a lot of fairs, talked to university representatives, and then I was just convinced. So I applied around February, was accepted, and then my journey to Tilburg began immediately. So I took a road trip around mid-August with my family and settled down in Talon Square for my first year, and that's how it all started.
Okay, thank you, Ana Maria. And hello, Massimiliano.
Hello, can you hear me well?
Yes, properly this time.
Very nice. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm calling in from Milan, Italy, and I just completed the third year, my whole bachelor in cognitive science and artificial intelligence, and my process of coming to Tilburg was kind of similar to Kilian. After high school, I decided to take some time off, and I worked a bit. I followed some courses, and then I got to travel. And I decided I didn't really want to study. I wanted to study abroad in general. So I met during my travels, I met some Dutch people who influenced me and kind of motivated me to check out universities in the Netherlands. And as a kind of a blind choice, I decided to come to Tilburg, mostly because of the nature of the course that was very, very interesting to me. And then, in fact, it ended up to be great in that regard. So I just when was it, in July, before the top week, actually in August before the top week, I got my stuff with my dad and my brother, and we drove all the way up there. It was a very nice road trip, and then I found my house, and then I continued to stay there, and that was how it went.
And what would you say that were the biggest challenges that you faced? Because of course, being an international student is, excuse my non-academic language, awesome. However, there are also challenges that students face. What would you say that were the biggest ones that you experienced, and also how did you get past them?
Well, if there have not been that many challenges, to be honest. In general, the Netherlands is a very welcoming place. Most people, if not everyone, speaks very well English, and they're always open to help you in case you have any question. At the beginning, I struggled a bit with housing, I have to be honest. But then eventually it ended up being better, especially because I was there and I could go to the agencies and say, hey, hello, you must have a place for me. And then eventually they did, although maybe through the website they were saying that they didn't. So that was a bit of a struggle. But then I think the more you push and the more you try to ask, at some point you find something. And in general, I didn't struggle too much with the transition from high school to university, because in my gap year, I also did a semester here. So I already kind of breathed, I was already breathing the air and the atmosphere that you find in a university, although rather different, but still. So I was able to work a bit on that before actually starting in Tilburg. And not very major challenges, I have to say. Maybe housing at the beginning, and of course getting to know some people. But if you're curious enough and you go out there and you ask, I mean, everyone is in your same shoes. So it's at the end it was pretty good actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Massimiliano. Anna Maria, do you have anything to build up on that from your personal experience, or you're also working with lots of students as a student assistant? What do you think that were the major challenges that students are facing? And again, what is usually the solution in order to get past them?
So I will start by saying that I agree with Massimiliano in the sense that as an international student, there aren't really that many challenges related to you being an international, at least from my perspective. And from the perspective of my friends, at least, I definitely experienced challenges in terms of adjusting to the university lifestyle, let's just say that, especially in terms of studying. So of course, during the first 6 months, I had to really develop my time management skills because, I don't know, in high school, I was definitely a bit more laid back with how I study and how I prepare for exams. And I really had to take it seriously during my first year in the university. So I'm not really sure what is the proper way to approach this. I think it depends on the person, but definitely being there. So for example, attending lectures and saying that you are gonna attend lectures and promising that to yourself, as well as joining friends in the library, or I don't know, maybe in this case, online study sessions, definitely puts you on track. Other than that, in terms of just dealing with all the new stuff that you have to do as a young adult living by yourself. So I don't know, just taking care of yourself, cooking your own food, doing your own laundry. It's a bit complicated, but this comes with time. And there's definitely an adjustment period. But after a year, I would say that you're definitely good to go.
Adjusted, indeed. And one more question for you, Anna Maria. A lot of our students are curious about the separation between their off time, the time that they have to spend on campus or attending classes, and also the time that they have to study individually. What can you tell us about that? Because you studied economics, so you already graduated from a bachelor's program and now a master's program. What would you tell them about that?
So I always say that I remember my first program introduction that they told us that our bachelor study is a full-time job. So we should expect an appropriate number of hours to be put into studying. In terms of contact hours, so hours spent in class during lectures or tutorials, I would say that my program and most of the program have around 15 contact hours a week. In addition to that, you're of course going to have a lot of hours spent studying by yourself, working on your own assignments, or working on group assignments with your own colleagues. However, that time varies a lot from month to month. So of course, it's going to be a bit less in the beginning, and it's going to grow to maybe a much larger number of hours during the exam period or during the period that you have to submit your assignments.
Okay, thank you, Ana Maria, for your answers. I'm going to get back to the two students on stage, and then we will switch to the virtual part. Getting back to Tilburg, because we talked from Italy and Romania, I have a question for you, Kilian. One of our students is curious about how are students procuring their books and what are the library facilities. So where do you procure your study materials? And did you have to buy lots of books? Can you find the content in the library and so on?
Yeah, so for me personally, especially in the first year, I decided to buy most of the books because at that point I wasn't super experienced with what is the best way of learning for me, and I still had to find my own best way of doing it. So at first I bought all the books, and I actually used a reduction that I got from my study association to get them for a bit cheaper, which actually most study associations offer, I think, so that you can get the books that you need for your specific courses for a reduced price. So then in the first year I had like almost all of the books, and then I think then in the first semester I still had all of them, and in the second semester it slowly became less and less. Because I realized that I can also learn really well by looking at non-physical copies of books. And like at that point, for some of the books, I simply looked at, okay, what chapters do I need? And then maybe there is one book where you need 2 chapters out of, and then I simply went into the library, which for my purposes had all the books, and then simply I scanned those 2 chapters because I had to read them, and then there was no purpose in buying the entire book. So I think that depending on what type of person you are and how you learn best, it might make sense to get all the books, and usually you can also do so for a reduced price. And for those who can also learn quite well with non-physical copies and who can who don't need to highlight stuff in the books in order to learn, it might also make sense to take a look at the library facilities, because I mean, they are offered to you for free, they're included in your study fee. And I think that the library facilities here for me have done quite a lot, because they offer basically all the books that I ever had to read. They're all here, and I think usually the library has a system where there's always one copy of the book within the library, and then they usually have 1 or 2 other copies that can be actually rented and can be taken home. So I think that for me, the main source of my books, as well as the papers and everything, comes from either online or the library. And if I'm learning, for example, I usually also tended to, because right now it's not really possible anymore, tended to learn in the library and then simply go there, see what books I need, maybe pick it out, and then just read the 2 or 3 chapters that I had to read for a specific lecture, or maybe if I just had to look up a very specific part of a book for a paper to cite it or whatever, then I usually tended to go to the library. But I would say it all boils down to see what type of person you are, and then I think you have both the option of either going to the library or simply buying the books. I think both of the options are very feasible, really depending on what your preference is.
And were you ever in the situation where you didn't understand a specific topic? Let's say that you struggled with statistics, for example, or this is the first example that popped into my mind. How do you get help in case you are struggling with a particular topic? What would you recommend students to do?
Yeah. So I personally haven't really struggled with anything yet.
There you go.
So I haven't really struggled with anything in my course so far. But sometimes I struggle with things that are more extracurricular, where I have to do things that I have never done before. So in those cases, I really appreciate that most of the professors here at the university are really open to questions and also to simply having a conversation. So sometimes when I have any questions for, let's say, about human resources, because I'm doing something human resource related in my extracurricular activities, then I can basically consult my professors from courses previously, And I usually either write them an email or just send them a message, and I ask them about whatever it is that I have to ask them. And usually most of the professors here at the university, at least from my department, are really open to questions. So if I ever, for example, if I would have any questions in the future, I think the first step for me to take would probably be to ask my fellow students at first, because that's the shortest connection that I have and the one that I will probably get the fastest answer. But if the question needs like additional help and it's a very like in-depth question, then I usually just tend to email my professors. Because for the most part, they are really open to questions, and they also actually encourage you to send them an email, contact them, ask them, also raise your hand during the lectures and just immediately ask the question that you have, because that can avoid a lot of time and can maybe also help other people who have the same question, which commonly is the case for some of the courses. So I think that for me, like the main source of help is probably my professors, simply because they are also open and very easily accessible as well.
There you go. Thank you, Kilian. And this brings me to an important piece of information that I'm not sure if it was shared in the chat. Some of you are asking whether if you live in a different time zone, so if you live in the United States, for example, and you will have to attend online classes, will those be recorded or will you have to attend them live? Higher education in the Netherlands implies a lot of contribution, so you have to be active during your classes, and this aspect cannot be paused even during online education. Therefore, classes will be transmitted live, whether they will be recorded and then sent to you. This is something that later on we will follow up with, and it's going to be decided. However, your active presence will be required during classes, just to make sure that you will receive the proper academic training. Therefore, you might have to attend classes at rather peculiar times, maybe early in the morning or a bit later in the evening. So you have to be prepared for that. And I'm going to talk to Farika now. Farika, you've been here for how many years now on campus?
Probably 5 now, going 5, I guess.
Okay, and for those students who are not able to see the campus with their own eyes at the moment, maybe they can see the campus through your eyes. So if you want to briefly tell us a couple of information about it, what you can find on campus, where you can eat, and so on and so forth. And then maybe you can tell them how is the campus during Corona, because one of the questions that we got is, do you experience a student feeling now that most students are not on campus?
Well, I haven't really been here that often during COVID time, so it's a bit hard to elaborate too much on that, but I've been here decent enough times to give an idea of it. I'll start with pre-COVID, because at least you get that idea. I would say pre-COVID, the campus is very live. So being at the campus now, it's like day to night. It's like, whoa, it's so different. But pre-COVID, the campus is very lively. So there's always students walking around. You will always meet a random friend, a random person just there doing something. Or a great thing about the campus as well, we have a massive strip or a massive section right opposite the library, where a lot of different associations advertise. So for instance, sometimes you see like a very nice sport car outside and you're like, wait, there's someone just really drive this to school. So there's always something going on, and that is of course something that you'll particularly miss to some extent, but I won't say fully, taking the online format. But I say the campus, that's like just a busy day when you're going to classes. You just see so much things to do and you're like, oh, I'm gonna check this out later or whatever. But generally on the campus, I think the campus is so beautiful, and what I love about it is that you have there's a sense of indoor-outdoor feeling. So you can be inside, but sometimes you're just like looking outside and you're like, oh, wow. And just like, no, I have had times in classes where I'm just like looking outside, I'm like, wow, this is great. And I'm just looking into the greenery. So it's very much an indoor-outside experience. So it's really beautiful on that point. But also when you're finished a class and you have like a whole period free, you can always go to of course, the weather's permitted, if it's not raining or so. You could always go outside and sit in the grass sometimes, but also we have like a little, I don't know how you say it. It's not like a canal, but like a little
waterside.
a little river. Not anything's massive, but a little river that is really, no, it's really beautiful. So I love that experience that we can, it's it's a great experience, especially when you're learning and when you're doing things, is that you don't feel like you're confined. And I like that, at least architecture wise. So I would say when you look at the campus, it's very inspiring to an extent. When you look now, COVID time, the student life is completely different because you won't necessarily have to be on campus. There, of course, we are looking at ways in how we can incorporate on-campus learning, but that you'll learn more of that as time goes by. But student life, I think, still goes on, but just a whole different format. So it's really in the comfort of your own home. So that's great to the extent, of course, you're not going to get that, oh, you know, I got to experience a campus, but you do get to experience what it is to be a student at Tilburg University, whether it be like online events geared to your study program or just to a natural interest you may have. So I think it still goes on, but it's of course a different, it's just a different lens on it.
Right, and just to remind you guys, thank you, Farika, to those of you who maybe joined the session later, the priority for on-campus education will be given to first year's bachelor students, and then the university is trying to organize at least one day per each school that students will be able to come on campus. So there will be on-campus activities, of course following the safety regulation, but then again, for those of you who decide to start your program from your own home country, then you will be able to attend classes and pass your exams online in the first semester. I'm going to go back to Massimiliano and Ana Maria, but in the meantime, I will answer two short questions that keep repeating in the chat, which is what health insurance can you recommend for international students? Again, if you are a European Union citizen, then you can obtain the European Health card. I think that this is the name of it, the full name of it. However, you will have to check if you will be covered in the Netherlands. And then if you want to have the second option is to have your private insurance from your own country. If you already have a private insurance, check with your insurer that you are going to be covered on the territory of the Netherlands. And the third option is to take a Dutch insurance. Or you need to know, in order to find information about the insurance matter, is to Google Tilburg University Insurance. And then you will find a website where we recommend a couple of insurances and where we offer useful information about how to apply for an insurance, why is an insurance necessary, and so on. And there's another question, what is the difference between a semester and a block? Maybe Massimiliano can answer this question?
Yes, of course. So I think it varies from bachelor, from course to course. So for example, in my degree, I only had semesters. This means that I had 5 different courses that were going from, let's say, August to December, to January and December. And then from January, February to all the way to June. However, some friends of mine, let's say, a friend of mine was studying sociology, and in there they had blocks, which means that you have a course that goes from August to mid-October, beginning of November, something like that, and then it continues. So a block, it's a course that is more condensed, and you have more contact hours for that specific course. Whether if you have a semester course, you have slightly less contact hours, but it's spread all around the full semester, which is 6 months usually. So this is mainly the difference. I never experienced a block course because there were none in my degree, but many of my friends, they had it, and it's just a matter of maybe with a block course you need to be more on track, of course, because it's more compact, there is less time. But of course, the amount of information is slightly less. It makes sense. It needs to be all balanced. But this is the main difference. Yeah.
Right, guys. So briefly put, if you have a semester system, then you will have 2 semesters. And if you have a block system, you'll have 4 blocks. So that's pretty much the difference, as Massimiliano said. I'm going to get back to you, if you don't mind, Massimiliano. I wanted to ask you, because you are studying cognitive science and artificial intelligence, and yes, you had the opportunity to be on campus for most of your student experience here. How did you experience online education? So starting March or April, when we started to teach online and pass exams online, how was that experience for you?
Right. So when all the COVID situation started, I somehow cooled up, came home, and just follow everything from home. But I had a very good student house situation, and my housemates were like my family for me after 3 years of staying together. So I decided to stay there, and also I have to say I had more of a personal space. And in terms of online education, while I was doing my thesis and 3 of my final courses, and I have to say it has been pretty tough because I used to go on campus very often. I used to use the library facilities very often, even just being able to use 2 screens to work on your project. That's very useful. Or just being able to go and chat with your supervisor. So I have to say, one thing, there were just ups and downs. One thing that I appreciated was the fact that from the comfort of your house, you can access classes and lectures at any given time, even during the night if you want, or you can take breaks with more freedom. You have your own space. You don't need to cycle to the university. You don't need to be there. You can stay in your pajama and all these kind of things. At the same time, that can be a bit, for me, it was constraining me because I really like to just go out from my place, and my room most of the time was kind of confusing me, or maybe wanting me to just relax and play some music instead of studying. So I think it's a personality thing, but I really, in general, I really enjoyed going on campus. But all in all, there were ups and downs, and for example, I could follow the recorded lectures and go back to them, to the recordings. Whether if you had lectures on campus, it's all in one, and you cannot go to the teacher and say, hey, can you give me another lecture, of course. But if you have it recorded, I have to say that was very useful for when I was studying for the exams. So yeah, it's always a trade-off, and I really appreciated that, at least in my department, all the teachers tried their best to make it as painful as possible for the students and also for them, because I bet that also for a teacher is a rather intense process. But it went well. It was, of course, very tough. It would have been easier if I could have gone to the library and things like that. But yeah, it was just ups and downs.
Thank you, Massimiliano.
Yes.
Anna Maria, would you like to build up on that? How did you experience this online education, you being a bachelor graduate and a master's student?
Yeah, so my experience is a bit different. I would say I didn't get to experience taking online classes because by the time that online education started, I was already done with my classes, with my group work. So I guess that was an advantage, so to say. I did experience taking exams online and also completing my thesis while being in isolation. I decided to stay in Tilburg during that period. Of course, I was nervous, especially about the exams. I think everybody was nervous regarding taking online exams. There were a lot of confusion surrounding that, how it's going to go. But I think it turned out fine in the end. And most students didn't have any issues regarding how the exams went. Especially, I was worried about technical issues. In terms of writing my thesis, I do miss my library, my spot in the library, so to say.
Right.
I do miss my 2 screens and my colleagues whom I can ask any questions and just like chit chat about our work. However, I learned to adjust that as well, and then basically time flew. Like I don't even realize how fast 2-3 months of work went. So yeah, that was my experience. A bit more narrow, I would say, because I don't know how it is to take classes online, but yeah, I think it's just in terms of adjustment, and everybody adjusts to that, and I'm sure that for everybody it was hard in the beginning.
Right, and you graduated an economics program, and now you're a student of a finance master's program, and one of our students, fresh students, is asking us what kind of structures did the online exams had. For example, for mathematics exams, it might be difficult to write equations and so on.
Yeah, that's true. Fortunately, the exams that I had were not mathematical exams. However, we did have two types of exams. So we had exams that were taken with Proctorio, which was software, I guess, that monitored your behavior during the exam, and just yeah, you were on spot, like in a video chat, and you had to complete your exam. Everybody's a bit nervous about that, but for me, it worked out well eventually. So that exam was multiple choice. On the other hand, we had like normal online quizzes, but without being monitored. And those are, yeah, basically more open questions. So you had to write your answer in the box. As far as I know, and what I heard from other students, for example, statistics exam, which include a lot of calculations, were multiple choice. So you would solve the exercise and then pick up one of the options. I'm not really sure about mathematical exams that were open questions, because it's kind of hard to type your equation there, but I guess those also took place. So there is a way of taking those as well.
Thank you, Anna Maria. And maybe one last question, just to wrap up this topic. So one of our students is asking us, so you think that we could manage to easily feel at home and connect to others despite online education, with all its limitations, of course?
Yeah, I think that's a matter of people deciding to come together and make the most of it. Of course, it's going to be very different, but we all know that hopefully we're going to go back to normality, and you're still going to have the student experience. And I think for me right now, I just appreciate so much more all the things that I took for granted. So I'm just thinking about all the students that are going to come to Tilburg University and are going to enjoy their time on campus and just exploring the city even more. In the meantime, yeah, just try to make the most of it and try to connect to as many people as possible, because you're going to meet them in the future, and it's very good to already have some sort of connection. But yeah, I definitely do think that it's going to be possible.
Thank you, Anna Maria. And Massimiliano, one more question from you, for you, because you studied cognitive science and artificial intelligence, which does have a technical part. For those students who will study a type of program of such as cognitive science and artificial intelligence, or maybe even data science students, will you be able to recommend them a laptop that has maybe some recommended features? Is there a specific type of laptop that they should have, or operation system? Can you make any recommendations in this regard?
Of course. So to what it concerns the operation systems, there are no real constraints. You have Mac OS, which works just as well as Windows or Linux. If you're programming, of course, if you're really into building your own system, maybe Linux will be the best, because it's very open source, and you can in a modular way add parts to it. But when it comes to the hardware part of a laptop, I would say try to have even an entry-level laptop that it must have at least between 4 and 8 gigabytes of memory, of RAM, because especially in the last years, you will find yourself running 3 to 4 different programs in the background that maybe are doing calculations on big data sets, and there you need your laptop to stay on track and not crash. The same goes for the CPU, for the chipset that is in the CPU. Try to go for something around like an Intel i7 or i5, and because the chipset and the RAM, the memory, really complement each other. So if you may have a bit less memory, but you can also have a good CPU. In the last year, for my thesis, I actually needed to upgrade my memory because I only had 4, and I was experiencing a lot of crashes, or it was just going slow. So I would recommend that, especially if you're taking on a course that requires some of those technical applications. But I would say let's say if you study psychology, maybe you just need to run some statistics in SPSS or R. There, I think you should be good also with an entry-level laptop. It shouldn't be strictly necessary to have great hardware requirements. Also, if you don't have an amazing laptop, you can always go to the library and use the computers in the library, which have installed all the softwares that you possibly need to use, at least for university, and run the data sets in there. It happened more than once that maybe my laptop was. I remember at the beginning of the second year, my laptop was I needed some maintenance, so I brought it to a place to fix. And I didn't have it for 4 days, but I could go to the library and just, everything synced with your university email. So that was great, yeah. But I would say if you do a technical course, go for between 4 and 8 gigabytes of RAM and an i5 to i7 CPU, and maybe an SSD as storage instead of HDD, because SSD is just faster and it's a newer technology. Also makes less sound, less noise. And but if you don't have any specific requirement, just go with a laptop with that. It's at least good for office work. So PowerPoint, Word, Excel, those kind of things. Of course, internet connection is going to be very useful. But yeah.
Thank you, Massimiliano. I'm going to get back to the Netherlands. There we are. Okay, we're back, and I have just a couple more questions for you guys. We will slowly wrap up the event. I will ask them a couple of questions that you are interested in, but then we have to move towards wrapping up. Before my questions to the students, I will take upon a couple of general questions that were posted in the chat. So just in case you need a reminder, will the program introduction take place online? Yes, it will, and you will be informed about the details via email from your program. Again, the program introduction day is mandatory for all programs and all students. Farika, I keep receiving this question for you. There's a student from St. Martin who would like to contact you directly. Farika is from St. Martin. Is it okay if somebody shares the email address? Yes, it is okay that somebody shares the email address of Farika with the student from St. Martin. That indeed. And there was another question here about working. What are the job opportunities for students? Do we need to know Dutch in order to work? Learning Dutch is highly advisable, especially if you stay in the Netherlands for more than just 1 or 2 years. There are free Dutch courses that you can take at the university, so that's highly advisable to do. However, Dutch is not mandatory. If you study an English taught program, your entire academic experience will be in English, and therefore Dutch is not required, but it will surely help you with your social integration. However, there will be no language barrier. One of my biggest fears when I moved to the Netherlands was, I'm going to go to a country where I cannot speak nor understand the language at all, as I speak a Latin language. However, you should know that the Netherlands has the second highest level of English for non-English native countries, so pretty much everybody speaks English in the Netherlands, and especially when it comes to your academic experience, this will be in English. Therefore, Dutch is not mandatory, but it is advisable. And this brings me to the question about working. So if you do speak Dutch, then it's easier to find a student job. As a European Union student, you don't have a working hours limit, and you don't really need a working permit either. If you are looking for a job, then you can look on LinkedIn, and then at Tilburg University, we also have a career center that you can consult if you're looking for a professional internship, for example. And then I have another question for you, Killian. Our students are curious about the facilities of the sports center. What can you tell us about that swiftly? And also, can you be an athlete at Tilburg University?
So about the sports center, we have very nice facilities that are very close to campus as well. So it's very easy to combine studying with working out, because you can get to the sports center within 3 minutes by bike. The sports facilities offer basically everything. So from basic, just working out, muscle exercise, CrossFit, powerlifting. You can also go for a run. And besides that, we also have real sports associations, which offer more specific types of sports, such as running, football, basketball, rowing, field hockey, horse riding, all kinds of things, basically, really depending on your own interests. And you can also go swimming and so on. And basically, a membership in the sports center is about 130 euros a year. And for that price, you can go swimming for free in, I think, 3 swimming pools in Tilburg. You can go working out in the sports center, 2 sports centers actually throughout Tilburg. And you also have the option of going to the sauna. If you ever feel very stressed, you can relax in the sauna as well. That is also included. About becoming an athlete, that is a thing that depends really much on the person. And it also depends on what sports they are doing and on what level they are doing it. I would advise anyone who's interested in becoming a top athlete for Tilburg University to check the very specific requirements that are on the website, because we have a website specifically for that purpose. And there it states specifically what kind of activities you need to do in order to qualify. There's a certain amount of hours per week that you have to train in order to qualify, and that counts for everything. You can even do esports and become an athlete, but it really depends on what kind of associations you are already in. And I think it's like a case-by-case thingy, and you should just check out the website and then get in contact with the people who take care of these matters.
And are you a part of a student, not necessarily a sport one, but if so, of course you can mention it, but outside the sport associations, are you a part of a student or a study association? Or have you been?
I'm not part of a sports association. I know a bunch of people from sports associations, and I used to run a lot with the running association, but I never became a member of it. Then about study associations, I'm a member of my own study association for my program, Input. And yeah, I'm a member there, and I mainly sell my summaries to them so that they can distribute them to other students. And other than that, I also, sometimes I participate in the career events that they offer and so on. But besides really these 2 associations, I haven't joined one yet. And I'm also quite happy with how things are, because I'm involved in some of them just because I know people there, but I'm not directly like a member of it.
So you guys are the masters of your own fate. So extracurricularly, which I'm subject that I'm going to follow up with the Farika, actually have lots of opportunities. So if you want to work and you have the time to do so, you can do it. Although, as Anna Maria said, being a bachelor student at Tilburg University is a full-time job. So you need to take into consideration that you will have contact hours, mandatory classes that you need to attend, but there's also individual study time that you have to consider. Farika, can you maybe tell us a couple of information about the student association?
So actually, I was a part of a student association called Enactus, Tilburg University. It's a worldwide, well, I'm not going to go too in-depth in it, but just generally, it's an international association known all around the world, and different universities in the Netherlands also have an Enactus at their campus or their institution. For me, the difference between a student association and study association, who are using these different terms. So the study association is one really focused on your study. So as Killian said, he's a part of a study association, which is just generally focused on human resource management and social sciences in that sense. In Tilburg University, we have quite a few, so it's also part of the Big Four you'll meet during the top week. There's Asset for TISEM, there's Flow, there's an array of them. Then you have student associations, which is more general, so it's not people just only a part of your study or your fields, but those who have a similar interest. So it could be drama, it could be about religion. It's really, we have a vast number of associations. So if you're interested to know more about the associations, there's a massive list. You can actually check on our website at Tilburg University Associations to get a rundown of the different associations we have.
Okay, thank you, Farika, and thank you to all 4 of you for joining us today and for taking your time to answer the questions from our fresh students. Guys, we are going to wrap up today's session. The slide that it's projected now reminds you about the contact details of our admission officers and also about our immigration team. If there were questions that we didn't manage to answer today, you can always send us an email, and we're going to follow up with you. Thank you for your attention today. Thank you for being so active in the chat. We hope that you stay positive and you hope that you stay healthy. And regardless if you're going to start your program from your own home country or if you are coming to Tilburg, I hope that you are going to enjoy it. Stay safe, stay positive, and we'll see you in Tilburg soon. Oh, there you go. I see now a message from our colleagues which say that the chat will continue for a couple of more minutes. So we're going to stop the video part, or maybe just project the contact details, and then my colleagues are going to be wrapping up the question session. Have a nice evening, guys.